The year is 1622. A Mbundu princess named Njinga Mbande enters the Portuguese governor's hall in Luanda. The governor sits in a chair. He offers her the floor, a deliberate insult designed to remind her that she kneels to Lisbon. Njinga turns to one of her attendants, places her hand on his back, and sits on the man as though he is furniture. She then negotiates as an equal. The Portuguese have no idea what they have just awakened. Njinga is born in 1583 in the kingdom of Ndongo, a Mbundu state in what is now northwestern Angola. Her father is King Angola Quilombo Kia Kasenda, a ruler whose territory Portugal has targeted for decades as a source of enslaved labor for Brazilian sugar plantations. From childhood, Njinga trains alongside male warriors, a practice permitted for daughters of the royal house who show exceptional ability. She learns military formation, diplomatic protocol, and the Mbundu art of ritual power, the belief that a ruler's authority flows from both physical dominance and spiritual command. By the time she reaches adulthood, Portuguese slaving raids pull tens of thousands of Mbundu people into Atlantic chains each decade. The kingdom bleeds people the way a wounded animal bleeds blood. In 1617, Njinga's brother Njinga Mbande seizes the throne by killing their father and murdering Njinga's infant son to eliminate rival bloodlines. He is a weak ruler facing a Portuguese military that pushes deeper inland every year. By 1621, Portuguese forces under Governor João Correia de Souza crush Ndongo's army at the Battle of Mbumbi, capturing the royal family's sacred lands. Njinga Mbande, desperate and humiliated, sends the one person he believes can negotiate, his sister Njinga. She arrives in Luanda with a delegation and that chair. She leaves having agreed to convert to Christianity, taking the baptismal name Ana de Souza and securing a temporary ceasefire. But she also watches Portuguese officials ignore every clause the moment her ship leaves the harbor. The lesson lands with the precision of a spear. Njinga Mbande dies in 1624, likely poisoned. Many historians argue at Njinga's direction. She rules as regent for his young son, then eliminates the boy within months and declares herself Angola, using the male title, refusing the subordinate vocabulary European powers assign to African women. Portugal immediately refuses to recognize her legitimacy and installs a puppet ruler named Hari a Kilwanji in Ndongo's capital. Njinga does not petition. She retreats east into the forest with her remaining warriors and makes the decision that reshapes Central African history. She joins the Imbangala. These are stateless warrior bands who follow a brutal code. No agriculture, no permanent settlement, no mercy, and ritual practices, including the consumption of human flesh as a mechanism of psychological terror and spiritual power. European traders fear them. African kingdoms fear them. Njinga absorbs their structure into her own army, adopts their insignia and ceremonies, and transforms the combined force into her personal military instrument. She dresses in male warrior garb, carries a sword and axe in battle, and requires her male concubines to dress as women. An inversion of gender hierarchy that asserts her dominance over every category European and African society uses to define authority. She is no longer a negotiator. She is a predator. From 1626 onward, Njinga wages continuous guerrilla warfare against Portuguese columns moving through Ndongo. She burns supply lines, ambushes slaving caravans, and recruits escaped enslaved people directly into her forces, offering freedom in exchange for military service, decades before any European power considers the concept. In 1629, she captures the island kingdom of Matamba after its queen dies, absorbing its territory and resources. She now commands a state larger than the one Portugal stole. The Portuguese send army after army. She withdraws, regroups, and attacks from new directions, denying them the fixed battle they need to win decisively. In 1641, the Dutch West India Company seizes Luanda from Portugal, and Njinga moves immediately. She sends ambassadors to the Dutch within weeks of their landing, forging a military alliance that combines her ground forces with Dutch naval firepower. The joint campaign of 1647 drives Portuguese forces to near total collapse in the region. For 1 year, Angola effectively belongs to Njinga and her Dutch partners. Then, in 1648, a Portuguese fleet from Brazil under Salvador de Sá recaptures Luanda in a single devastating assault. The Dutch withdraw. Njinga retreats again to Matamba, now 65 years old, her alliance shattered, her kingdom encircled. She does not stop. She opens Matamba as a commercial hub, trading with every European power willing to deal with her on equal terms, and using the revenue to rebuild her military. She negotiates directly with the Vatican, corresponding with Rome as one sovereign to another, requesting missionaries not out of devotion, but to demonstrate to European courts that she commands a Christian kingdom deserving diplomatic recognition. In 1657, Portugal signs a formal peace treaty acknowledging Njinga as the legitimate ruler of Matamba and ending Portuguese military aggression against her territory. She is 74 years old. She has outlasted 5 Portuguese governors, 2 Dutch occupations, and 40 years of continuous warfare. Njinga Mbande dies on December 17, 1663, aged 80, in her capital, in her bed, surrounded by her court. She asks to be buried in the Imbangala warrior regalia, the garments of the cult that gave her the weapon she needed when diplomacy failed. Portuguese chroniclers spend the following century slowly erasing her from their official histories, reclassifying her as a savage, a curiosity, a monster. They cannot write her as a queen who defeated them because that sentence contains too much truth. She held a kingdom together with her body, her mind, and 40 years of refusal. The chain her brother accepted, she spent a lifetime breaking, link by link, war by war, until Europe learned to write her name in a treaty instead of a dismissal.